Welcome to Forbidden Files. The most valuable trade secret in the world is a piece of paper. It sits inside a vault in Atlanta, Georgia, behind a palm scanner, a numerical keypad, a steel door, and then another safe inside that. The vault can only be opened by a resolution of Coca-Cola's board of directors. What is written on that paper has never been publicly confirmed, and the drink it produces is consumed 2 billion times every single day. But the story of how it got there, and what was in it at the beginning, is something the company spent decades hoping you would never find out. Atlanta, Georgia, 1865. The Civil War has just ended. The city is in ruins, and a 34-year-old Confederate lieutenant colonel named John Stith Pemberton is coming home with a saber wound in his chest and a morphine addiction that will define the rest of his life. Pemberton was a pharmacist and chemist. Before the war, he had built a successful career selling patent medicines in Columbus, Georgia. Now, back in Atlanta, in chronic pain and dependent on the morphine prescribed to manage it, he faced a problem that millions of Civil War veterans shared. Morphine addiction was an epidemic in post-war America. The drug that had saved countless soldiers from dying of pain on the battlefield had followed them home. Pemberton wanted out, and he wanted to find a way to help others get out too. The answer, he believed, was coca. A Corsican chemist named Angelo Mariani had mixed coca extract into wine, creating a tonic endorsed by Pope Leo XIII and Ulysses S. Grant. And in 1884, Sigmund Freud published a paper calling cocaine a wonder drug capable of curing morphine addiction. He took it himself. He gave it to his friends. He called it a magical substance. This was not fringe thinking. This was mainstream medicine. Pemberton developed his own version of the coca wine, which he called Pemberton's French wine coca. It combined wine, coca leaf extract, and kola nut, a West African plant containing caffeine, and was marketed as a treatment for nervous disorders, headaches, and addiction, including morphine addiction. This was not hypocrisy. It was the medicine of the era. In 1885, Atlanta voted to go dry. Alcohol was banned from sale within the city limits. Pemberton's French wine coca, which contained wine, was suddenly illegal to sell. He needed a new formula, one without alcohol, but he could keep everything else. In the spring of 1886, Pemberton stood over a brass kettle in his backyard and mixed a new formula: coca leaf extract, kola nut, sugar syrup, a blend of essential oils, including citrus, cinnamon, vanilla, and other flavors. He took the syrup to Jacob's Pharmacy nearby, where it was mixed with carbonated water and offered to customers. The date was May 8, 1886. The drink sold for 5 cents a glass. On the first day, 9 glasses were sold. Pemberton's bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, gave the drink its name. He combined the two main ingredients, coca and cola, into an alliterative brand name written in the flowing Spencerian script that remains the Coca-Cola logo to this day. Robinson also designed the first advertising campaigns, coupon books offering a free glass of the new drink at soda fountains around Atlanta. Pemberton had invented the product. Robinson had invented the brand. In its earliest advertisements, Coca-Cola was marketed not as a soft drink, but as a medicine, a brain tonic, a cure for headaches, exhaustion, and nervous disorders, an ideal temperance drink, an alternative to alcohol for the growing prohibition movement. And it contained, in every glass, a small but measurable dose of cocaine from the coca leaf extract. At the time, this was a selling point, but Pemberton never profited from what he had created. His health was deteriorating. His morphine addiction was worsening. He needed money. And so, in a series of decisions he would almost certainly regret if he had lived long enough to understand what he had given away, he began selling off pieces of the Coca-Cola formula and business to investors, one by one, for amounts that now seem almost impossibly small. Potentially even Russian ones. The man who acquired control was Asa Griggs Candler, an Atlanta businessman who purchased Pemberton's remaining interest just before Pemberton died of stomach cancer in 1888. He never knew what he had made. Candler moved fast. He trademarked the name, launched aggressive national marketing, free coupons, clocks, calendars bearing the Coca-Cola name. By 1895, Coca-Cola was sold in every state in the Union. By 1900, one of the most recognized brands in the country. And it still contained cocaine. Through the 1890s, the medical and public consensus on cocaine began to shift dramatically. Reports of addiction, overdose, and erratic behavior multiplied. The miracle drug of the 1880s became the public health crisis of the 1890s. Southern newspapers published particularly alarming stories, many of them racist, about cocaine use among Black Americans, stoking fear and political pressure for regulation. The pressure on Coca-Cola was building, medium. In 1903, Coca-Cola quietly removed the cocaine. The company did not announce it. There was no press release, no advertising campaign explaining the change. The formula was simply adjusted. The coca leaf extract was replaced with decoconized coca leaf, which retained the flavor contribution without the cocaine content. Coca-Cola has used decoconized coca leaf in its formula ever since, to this day. With the cocaine removed, the flavor remains, the drug is gone. And here is something almost nobody knows. The only company in the United States legally permitted to import and process coca leaves is the Stepan Company, a chemical manufacturer based in Maywood, New Jersey. Every year, it imports approximately 100 metric tons of coca leaves, mostly from Peru, processes out the cocaine alkaloid, and sends the decoconized extract to Coca-Cola. The removed cocaine alkaloid is then sold to Mallinckrodt, a pharmaceutical company, for use in legal medical cocaine products. Coca-Cola is still made with real coca leaves. Every single can, every single day. But by the time cocaine was removed from the formula, a different kind of secret had taken its place. Candler had instituted an extreme policy of secrecy around the formula from almost the beginning of his ownership. He made changes to Pemberton's original recipe, claiming that anyone who knew the original no longer knew the real formula. He never patented it because a patent would require public disclosure. He chose trade secret status instead, which meant the formula could remain secret indefinitely, as long as no one leaked it. The formula existed in Asa Candler's head and was passed verbally to a small number of trusted employees. It was not written down until 1919. That year, a group of investors led by Ernest Woodruff purchased the Coca-Cola Company from Candler and his family for $25 million. To finance the purchase, Woodruff needed to arrange a bank loan. As collateral, the bank required documentation of the formula. So for the first time in its history, the secret recipe of Coca-Cola was committed to paper and placed in a bank vault. The formula remained in the SunTrust Bank vault in downtown Atlanta from 1925 until 201. For 86 years, the most valuable recipe in the world sat in a bank safe deposit box that could only be opened by a resolution of Coca-Cola's board of directors. In December 2011, as part of the company's 125th anniversary celebrations, Coca-Cola moved the formula to a custom-built vault inside the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta. The vault is now part of a public exhibition. Visitors can see it. They can stand in front of the steel door. They cannot open it, a designation as deliberately meaningless as the secrecy around it. And then there is the legend. The story that only two people at any given time know the full formula, and that those two people are never allowed to fly on the same aircraft in case a crash would take the secret to the grave with them. This story appeared in a 1985 U.S. District Court opinion. It appeared in the respected 1993 History of Coca-Cola by Mark Pendergrast, and Coca-Cola's own advertising campaigns have repeated it. A 2014 ad claimed each of the two people who know the formula only knows half of it. The truth is more complicated. Coca-Cola has never officially confirmed that only two people know the formula. In 2011, A company spokeswoman said only that a small handful of people have access to it. There are no confirmed travel restrictions on those employees. The formula is stored in the vault, not exclusively in two people's memories. The two people on separate planes story appears to have begun as a Coca-Cola marketing narrative and became so widely repeated that it took on the status of established fact. Over the decades, numerous people have claimed to have found or reconstructed the original Coca-Cola formula. In 2011, the radio program This American Life reported finding a recipe written in a 1979 Atlanta newspaper, which the presenter claimed matched the original Pemberton formula. Coca-Cola immediately stated the recipe was not accurate, which, as several observers pointed out, is exactly what Coca-Cola would say even if it were perfect. The company has invested so much in the mythology of secrecy that confirming the formula would destroy more value than any competitor could extract from it. Because here is the uncomfortable truth about the secret formula. In 1975, Pepsi ran a series of blind taste tests, the Pepsi Challenge, in which consumers consistently preferred Pepsi over Coca-Cola when they did not know which drink they were tasting. Coca-Cola's internal research confirmed the results. In response, in 1985, the company reformulated Coca-Cola, creating New Coke, a sweeter formula that performed better in blind tests. The backlash was immediate and ferocious. 3 months later, the original formula was restored as Coca-Cola Classic. The debacle taught the company something important. People were not just drinking the formula, they were drinking the legend. Today, Coca-Cola is served approximately 2 billion times every day, in over 200 countries, by a company worth over $250 billion. It is the most recognized commercial brand in the history of human civilization. And it began as a morphine addict's attempt to cure himself, mixed in a brass kettle in an Atlanta backyard, by a man who sold his life's greatest achievement for $2,300 and died before he understood what he had made. Somewhere in Atlanta, behind a palm scanner and a steel door, sits a piece of paper. Written on it, according to Coca-Cola, is the formula that John Pemberton mixed in his backyard in 1886. Whether that is true, whether the formula on that paper is Pemberton's original, Candler's revision, or something updated since, the company will never say. A wounded soldier tried to cure his addiction and accidentally invented the most consumed drink in human history. The cocaine is gone, the legend remains. And somewhere in a vault in Atlanta, the piece of paper that started it all is still waiting. If this changed how you think about the drink in your fridge, drop it in the comments. We read every one. And if you want more stories about the secrets hiding behind the most familiar things in the world, subscribe. The next file is already open.